Why is third-party risk management important? Hi, my name is Emran Islam and I am from the International Monetary Fund. The financial system is comprised of entities of all sizes and types. For example, banks, securities firms, investment firms, financial market infrastructures. They operate within an ecosystem and increasingly are dependent on third-party service providers of different sizes, providing services to all of these entities, increasing their dependencies on them. In recent years, when we look at cyber threats, it is a fact that the largest and biggest attack vector has been the supply chain and these third-party service providers. Cyber attackers have increasingly understood that in order to target the many, it is more efficient to target the one that the many depend on. And therefore, the supply chain and third-party risk management have become incredibly important within the financial system. For regulators, for supervisors, and for standard-setting bodies, in recent years, there has been an increased attention given to third-party risk management. What do we do about this? There are three key principles that I want to transmit to you today. The first, what should financial institutions do with regards to improving their approach to third-party risk management? Well, standard-setting bodies of all types have generally agreed on a few governing and guiding principles. Number one, financial institutions should have strong governance arrangements in place when they outsource to third parties. There should be a clear strategy in place that determines and clearly sets out the approach that they should and ought to take in a risk-based manner when outsourcing to third-party providers. Outsourcing to third-party providers is not necessarily a bad thing. There are many benefits, potentially enhanced operational resilience, more adept, cost-efficient services that may be more innovative, specialized services that financial entities may not have access to. However, there is also a downside. There are risks such as concentration risk, issues around data insecurity, issues around cybersecurity, sub-outsourcing. These are all issues that do also bring a degree of risk. And that's why having strong governance and a robust strategy is essential for any financial entity to navigate its way through the myriad of different relationships and third parties that it has to interact and depend on. Aside from governance and strategy, thereafter, it is essential that financial entities have a robust risk management framework within which there is a strong policy and procedure that sets out how that institution will outsource to third-party providers, and the risk assessment, the due diligence process that it must undertake when outsourcing to such providers. This risk assessment must enable the financial entity to identify who their third parties are and the criticality of the different third parties that they outsource to. This risk assessment process is essential. Once they undertake that due diligence and that risk assessment and have decided that they should outsource a given service, it is essential they then have a process for contracting. This contract should have robust terms that empowers the financial entity with strong SLAs, the rights to audit, and so on. Thereafter, there needs to be a strong process for onboarding and continuous monitoring when they do outsource services. Within this, they also need to ensure that they have contractual terms to terminate and to have exit strategies and contingency plans, and that they have absolutely strong incident management and incident response protocols between them and the third party that they outsource to. These are some of the guiding principles, But of course, within these principles, there are far more practices involved. Aside from the financial institution having a robust third-party risk management framework in place, as I've just set out, there are things that the supervisor and the authorities must also undertake. First and foremost, it is essential that supervisors and regulators can identify within their financial ecosystem who the third-party providers are and how critical they are. A lot of this can be done by first and foremost gathering information from financial entities of who they outsource to. Once they do this, they should be able to, as regulators and supervisors, analyze and identify who the third-party players are and how critical they are to the financial system and how dependent many of their institutions are. This will allow them to identify possible concentration risk and identify where the critical nodes are. Understanding who the big players are, how critical they are, can help supervisors and regulators take policy actions to try to reduce that risk to the system as a whole. For example, by identifying who these players are, there are many ways in which supervisors and regulators can actually take risk-based decisions. In some cases, they may decide to use their legal framework to directly supervise such providers. However, this may not always be feasible. When not, there are other tools that supervisors and regulators ought to take. For example, integrating third-party providers within the scope of building sector resilience through inviting them to carry out cyber simulation exercises with the industry as a whole, involving third-party providers within the scope of cyber information and intelligence sharing, for example, ensuring that there are pooled audits and certifications that these third-party providers must comply with or deliver to the larger set and consortium of financial institutions that they serve. There are many things that supervisors and regulators can do to try to ensure that third-party providers, however critical they are part of the ecosystem and are part of the process in building operational and cyber resilience for the financial ecosystem. Third-party risk management is an essential part of the supervisory and regulatory action going forward. As I've mentioned, as highlighted at the beginning, the supply chain is one of the key risks to the financial sector. This therefore accentuates the need for financial institutions to ensure that they have a robust third-party risk management framework, and it also increases the importance amongst regulators and supervisors to take action to not only ensure that financial institutions have a robust third-party risk management framework, but also to be able to identify who these providers are and to integrate them into the process of building sector resilience as a whole.